real weird. The people behind you about to run out. Can't help you there.
Yeah, because once you get to the max time, and I think because it got down to 6 seconds, that the next amount, it has to go all the way to
zero.
I don't
This
know.
thing's not going.
But I put more money in than let me go up, so.
Far more complicated.
But I was like, I know. And my app froze, so I couldn't. I'm like,
The app is always freezing.
oh my God, this thing.
Doesn't
When
it
it works, it's glorious.
When
When it doesn't, it's a pain in the butt. This morning I went to the credit union, got changed because I was like, because yesterday the app was just like freezing. And I was like,
what is the point, technology?
come on. Wow, it is, girl, I wanted to put on there.
Hey.
It's the silence between the notes that make the music.
I know, right? Did you hear that?
And this one says, we're on radio.
That doesn't work on radio.
Like, you're going to have to say something.
I like
We
that
don't
one.
want to listen to you.
I memorized it. Who was the guy
Who
you were talking to?
James Oliver.
Who is that?
He's an entrepreneur. I met him at Blogger 2 years ago.
Okay.
He's got the twins and the wife, and he moved back to the ATL. He's a Morehouse grad.
What kind of business is it?
It's they take digital images and make it into a collage,
I thought,
and it's peelable.
I almost thought you were talking to the guy who does the cooking, Darius. I
Oh,
was like, oh, wait. No,
and
that's
I've talked to
not him.
Darius.
The man
too.
with the many
I talked
titles
to
will
him
be
early.
He's here, all right.
Come
Come
on.
on.
You read
Well, he's opening like a restaurant. Isn't it? I thought
Yeah.
he was
Hi,
saying
Joe.
a restaurant. I was like, oh,
Hey,
she's
how
like
you doing,
Darius.
Paul?
Hello.
Hello, ladies.
How you doing, ugly?
How are you?
So I
Y'all
texted you,
wrapped up?
Harry.
What's that?
Y'all wrapped up.
Oh yeah, Papa John soup.
Did they already operate you or not yet?
This one.
We're starting.
Oh, it hasn't stopped. They did it.
Yeah, they did this one.
How's it
hurt?
feel?
Feel good
We're
today.
starting.
What?
I don't know.
There's
Yeah.
headsets in.
Good morning, and welcome to Dateline New Haven. I'm your host, Paul Bass, inviting you to look behind the headlines on the stories that make the Elm City tick. Nothing ticks better than Pundit Friday, which we're about to begin here in the WNHH studio with the #1 pundits in the media universe. Pundits like Babs Rawls-Ivy, the dairy-free goddess of our grassroots radio operation, the belle of our ball, the managing editor of the Inner City News,
This might be longer.
and the hard-working host of WNHH's daily Love Babs Love Talk program. Good morning, Babs.
Good morning, Paul Beasy.
Like the flyest news hunter-gatherer this side of Fleet Street, boss of the Budget Beat and the Beauty Beat star, New Haven independent reporter, Markeisha Ricks,
Happy Friday, even though it's cold and gray outside.
the queen of quippery and quintessence of compassion, the Voz Hispana publisher, Norma Rodriguez Reyes,
Hello, everyone.
the bravest man in New Haven, WNHH station manager and Donald Trump apologist. I mean supporter, sorry, Harry Dross.
Yeah, Larry.
Listen, Harry's our tech guy. Don't.
Is this on?
And the exalted expostulator of extemporaneous exegesis,
Yeah.
the bossa nova mover and shaker, the griot of the grassy knoll, the conquistador of cussing criminal, keeper of the cure, weaver of wellness and wisdom, mellifluous and meritocratic miner of melody, the plow driver of peace, the driver out of demons, discord, and dissonance. He's the optimizer of opulence and opportunity, the undertaker of unfiltered utterance, the erudite earl of ergonomics, the liberated lion of lucidity, the maniacal monarch of mercy, the blistering barbecuer of brain dead bozos, our executioner of existential enemies, the alchemist of assonance and alliteration, the zealous zapper of xenophobia, sagacious sergeant sultan of swing, the quintessential quipper of quotable quackery, the grandee of grandiloquence and gastronomics, our prize protector against pusillanimity, the distinguished duke of diplomacy, detente, the king of conspiracy concoction, deacon of the dozens, bodhisattva of battle rap, missionary of modesty, mesmerizer of the masses, the shaman of the shoreline, the potentate of 360 State, the recognized ringleader of risque repartee, the eighth wonder of the world, the wizard of wise guy waggery, the capo of casual conversation, the first name inflamed, the daring don of dope deliberation, the sultan of spit, West Indian whisperer of wine, the emperor of explosive exposition, the esteemed elucidator of ebonics, top tier talent from Trinidad and Tobago, the daptone deliverer of decency, the maximo media maestro, bodacious, bold-faced barista of bop, chess master of chill, primo practitioner of pop prestidigitation, the beyond just somewhat honorable high priest of hip hop, right reverend of rapture, reigning raconteur of riffitude, sanctified slayer of the slow-witted, never late for supper, decorated, dazzling, indefatigable dunker and dryer of the dinner dishes, maximum mixologist Joe Ugly.
Yeah!
Of the Joe
Be able to do
Ugly
that
Show
someday.
in the morning.
I want to do that someday.
So you should let Norman do it. She wants to do it.
No. I
You
want
wanna
to
do
be
that
able
next
to
week,
come up with
Norman?
all the wording.
I want you to read them.
Those are
You
tongue
catch my breath and
twisters.
say, "Welcome to Pundit Friday."
Really?
on WNBC.
What?
Happy New Year, everyone.
You know, I'm so happy that we have Donald Trump as president.
Oh my.
Actually, I'm not. I think he's destroying the world and our country.
Oh
But I was
my.
so pleased. He actually did something that I could honestly, in my heart, say that I think was terrific. Like, I think he's still up to terrible things every day. Like having every day that Jeff Sessions is an attorney general, I think is an outrage to our entire history and the rights of the majority of people in this country. But he did something this week that I thought was really good.
He went back to New York.
No.
The
That's bad
executive
for New
order.
York.
You praised the healthcare system in Australia.
No, I think he's destroying the healthcare system.
No.
No,
No, he said in Australia.
And he's destroying our relations with foreign countries, too.
Oh,
No.
that's that.
But
He did something subtle and nuanced that was
Hold on.
perfect in every way. He owed a debt to the people who elected him, which is white Protestant evangelicals, right? 80% of them voted for him. They knew he wasn't like a Christian liver like them, but they knew correctly that he'd give them a Supreme Court justice.
Mm.
They also knew that he promised to repeal something called the Johnson Amendment, which prevents
Right.
preachers from endorsing
Right.
candidates in church, even though they've never ever gone after a single religious figure who ever
Ever.
endorsed someone, except for one liberal who endorsed a Democrat. That's what's so ironic about this whole thing. But at the same time, I thought this was going to be trouble because they also wanted him to lift restrictions against religious organizations from discriminating against gays and lesbians and failing at businesses that out of religious conviction didn't want to serve gay customers and stuff.
Mhm.
So he finally gave them their executive order, and they weren't happy
right.
because
He
first
split.
he split the baby in the perfect way.
Yep. He did.
Because what he did is he repealed the Johnson Amendment. This is my bugaboo, and I want you guys to push back on me because I have an unpopular position on this.
Mhm.
I think that even though I agree with people that's not a good idea for ministers and rabbis and imams to preach politics in the pulpit, I think they have the right to do that. And I think it's up to religious congregations to decide if they want their people to do that. And I think the whole Johnson Amendment, named after Lyndon Baines Johnson when he was a senator, was created to punish Lyndon Johnson's enemies who were trying to stop him from being a senator and happened to be religious figures. So I always thought this was bad law. I thought it was unconstitutional and dangerous. So I think it was good they wanted to lift that, but at the same time, so they claim that's what they wanted, but they've never really been prosecuted for it. You can really go to church, the pulpit, promote whoever you want. But he did not give them permission to discriminate against gays and lesbians, which was I think the real rule of the road. I've always felt that deep down, while he hates women, he's nasty to them, and while he's been a racist who's horrible to racial minorities, and that he's got a Ku Klux Klan attorney general. Donald Trump, deep down, doesn't hate gay people. I believe he doesn't have a problem with that. He's fine with everybody having sex, however they want to do it. But what's more important with civil rights, I think that Ivanka and some of the other people close to him didn't want him to go after gays and lesbians.
Right. Correct.
And that he did something nuanced here, that he gave something his base that I think his base deserved, which was their First Amendment rights for the pulpit. But he did not give them the right to discriminate against gays and lesbians. Any thoughts here? Because I don't think my position is going to be agreed in full with anybody here.
I agree with you as far as it goes towards the gays and lesbians, where he did get pushback. And where did that come from? Probably from Ivanka and her husband Jared, because they do have that history. Plus, they powwow a lot with liberals, a lot more than you'll think. So did Donald Trump until he decided to run for president. But as far as it goes for the Lyndon Baines Johnson, the Johnson Act, I think that is a necessity because our Constitution is built on separation of church and state. And I think it should be a separation of.
It's also built on freedom of speech. and you should be able to go wherever and say what you think. Now, I've been to minority churches, and nobody follows that. Nobody follows that. They
That's
go
true.
up.
Or
on the
your guys
pulpit.
either. Your right wing
No, but
evangelicals.
I'm saying
Yeah.
nobody follows it.
Right.
That's not true.
So,
We don't carry on like that.
well,
in my
I've
church.
seen it in
No,
minority
but-
churches.
but-
But in
it's not
Babs, a
common
lot of people do what
practice.
you do. At our synagogue, we don't go up and make a speech for this candidate. I think that's the right way
We
to do
don't
religion.
allow it at our
My
church.
only question, Babs, is that I think it's up to you guys not to allow it. I believe religion is done better when politics isn't mixed in. I believe we don't. But I don't think the government should be stopping the churches from doing it. If you want to have some politicized
Then why do we
church,
have separation
makes
of
us
church and state?
because I don't think you should
I think
restrict
he's talking
it.
about where the separation
Separate,
is.
No,
you
where
shouldn't
is it?
force people to. You shouldn't discriminate against religion and your right to practice a religion with church and state. You shouldn't have government enforcing religion, like defunding Planned Parenthood for religious reasons.
Right.
You
but-
shouldn't be restricting or favoring one religion over another, discriminating against Muslims. But I don't think you restrict people's rights to talk about politics however they want from the pulpit. I'm with Babs. I don't think our congregation should be so political, but I think that's for us to decide. If some people want to go to, let's say, the Nation of Islam, which I consider a political group, not a religious group for the most part, if they want to do that, I think that's their right. And I think that it was done for nefarious purposes in
So
Washington.
basically saying that should be between the church and their leadership as opposed to the government.
I actually
saying
think
we
that
should
is
do it.
separated church and state, Joe. Now, the argument, though, that comes back at people like me is that we give them tax breaks. So if you have tax breaks,
Right.
we shouldn't let you then lobby the government for more tax breaks. But when we give tax breaks to other industries, we don't restrict their right to speak. We do restrict their right to give money, which we should, because I don't think money is speech the way that the Supreme Court has
But
since
you
the
know,
Hunter
we
versus Vallejo decision.
We often talk about this free speech stuff, but we do have limits on it altogether. I mean, the basic is can't just yell
We
fire
give
their
tax
fairness.
breaks to
I
colleges and
mean, those
universities.
those are free speech issues that
Politicians
that
speak
are
there all the
addressed.
time.
But Joe is saying to your parishioners, who, by the way, are human beings with a brain and don't have to follow what you're telling them. Telling your parishioners, I like so and so for mayor or president, vote for them. Is that the same thing as fire in a crowded theater?
I tell you why it's worse. Here's why.
Worse than endangering
No.
people's
I
lives?
tell you. Let me.
I mean, I think Joe has a point because I think people follow what their ministers say.
Correct.
And I've been in churches, the way that they get around that is that the pastor doesn't get up and say, this is my homeboy, vote for him. What they say is somebody is coming to speak to us. We're going to allow them
But the
5
mere
minutes to speak. And even the politician doesn't say necessarily, I'm running for this office, vote for me.
But the
He
mere
might
fact-
get up and say, I'm a friend of this church, or I attend this church, or whatever, and
Well,
I believe in these things.
And they all come to Varick,
Yeah,
and they
they-
let everyone come at Varick. At Varick,
They're very
They
clever
don't
about how
come
they
to like,
script
we
it.
don't
Yeah.
allow them to come to
But
our
again,
office.
Okay,
it's
one,
a
the
matter
mere
They
of-
can come and
the mere fact
worship.
that they-
But
in
I've
the
also
church-
been in churches that had very good substantive debates about, are we going to let, and if we let this politician, do we have to let the opposing candidate?
but again,
know?
isn't that for them to
I
debate
think
rather
so.
than the federal government?
I think
Well,
so.
Joe, though, you wanted to pop in and give the other side.
No, I would say that, just letting the person come out and say something on your pulpit actually is giving an endorsement. But let me just go back. Most people get their information based on a candidate, I'm speaking on a commercial. And if that commercial has an endorser on there, people follow. So it's the same principle. You're literally branding yourself.
But why
with
shouldn't that be
person.
legal? We
Excuse
allow,
me?
it's a one way we vote is someone we trust and believe in tells us, I've looked into this is what I think. I think that's fine.
Yeah, but that's good. But a couple issues with that. I mean, first of all, it's
Legally, again, I'm
Yeah.
with Babs that we don't want this in our
right,
congregation,
and we shouldn't
but
have.
that's up to us.
No, it should be. Look, I applaud Bab's church for not having that and just making it a blanket. But what about the people who don't want to endorse this person, and they're coming to church for their spiritual sanctuary?
Then they should
They
go to
don't
a
need-
different church. They should go to a church that isn't politicized. But I don't think the federal government should tell them what church to go to.
See, no, they shouldn't tell them what church to go to. But what if they like the church for a lot of other reasons? But then they have to deal with this
Then
one
they
major
organize
issue.
a faction of people who want to either change the rules in their church and say, look, we don't want politicians coming to our church. But again, that's not for the government to decide. That church decides that, is what Paul's saying.
Well, I'll decide that we are listening to Pundit Friday and WNHH Radio, your home for community radio, 103.5 FM, live.org. We are doing Pundit Friday. Now, Donald Trump also celebrated yesterday because he finally got the U.S. House of Representatives to narrowly approve a bill that will succeed probably in throwing 20 million people off of health care and have people with pre-existing conditions no longer have the weight of the law.
Those of us who have healthcare through our employees.
And those of us who have pre-existing conditions might not get health care at all, or will have to pay tons of money. So I'm obviously not applauding him for that. I was thinking, I wanted to give Harry a chance to say why he's happy about it. But first of all, I'll say, I think that, well, first of all, are you happy that it passed?
I'm happy that something passed. I know this isn't going to be the law that gets signed in. I think everybody's, getting hysterical about something that won't be the law. But yeah, I'm happy something passed.
Wow. I gotta hear this. I gotta hear something passed. That means you just wanted anything to go for a team reason.
No, I'll tell you if I'm happy about the law when the law passes.
But you just said you were glad that something passed.
Yeah,
so
I'm glad.
your team won.
I'm glad my team won.
Okay, all right. So at
Now,
least
now let me tell you, now the
the
Republicans are my team, but
yes, they are.
the
You
team,
might not want to claim your
I'm
team,
with the
but
team
like-
that's against Obamacare.
which is of course
But-
the Republican team.
But listen, Joe,
Yes.
let me tell you something.
Why is
We
Obamacare
forget-
such a problem?
Wait, we forget how Nancy Pelosi and her group celebrated when they passed their version of Obamacare, which then went to the Senate, and it's gonna happen exactly what happened under their procedure.
No, it's
And
not.
they celebrate. Yes, of course it is.
No.
It's going to go to the Senate.
It's
The
going to
Sen-
go to based on that.
Well,
Based on on
no. The
procedure.
Senate will make their own version,
Uh-huh.
and then they'll have to
Send it back for
Figure out what-
reconciliation.
yeah.
Reconciliation.
they'll figure it out
Well,
in reconciliation, Joe.
no, they're going to go back to
That's how it
reconciliation, but then the House is going to have to vote on it again. Yes, and then
And they
send
have-
it back to the Senate.
And no,
and if they
the
pass it, then
House,
it goes to
the House
then it
has
goes
to
the
pass
top.
the Senate version. The Senate is not full of wackos like there are in the Congress.
But let me ask you a question. You celebrated
Th-
something passed. What is this whole thing about?
You know what?
Obama?
I'm
What
celebrating
are you
that,
to
that the
benefit-
Freedom Caucus
What
didn't
are-
get in the way this time.
What
That's all
are
I'm
you?
celebrating.
But this is a worse budget than the previous one.
No.
This is going to kick more than 24 million people off.
I love that
Pre-existing
kick.
conditions
I
are
love
sticking
that
out.
kick 20 million people
And
up.
it's a fact.
But now listen. Now
Yes.
listen very carefully, because there's a lot of people
Mhm.
who have insurance
Yeah.
who didn't want to pay for insurance. There's a lot of young people out there who
Granted,
didn't
but
want to
there's
pay
a lot
for
of people
insurance,
who have to
but
pay for car
Obama
insurance
forced them
but
into
don't
paying.
want to.
Your government forced them into paying
Just
insurance.
like car insurance, there's a
And
lot of
now-
people who don't want to pay
and
it,
now
but they do.
they'll come off the rolls voluntarily, and
No,
you guys
that-
are saying
that
kick
is-
them off.
That is not correct.
It
You're
is
gonna-
correct. It
No,
is correct.
people are going to lose because
separate
of
from-
Medicare.
okay, so
Medicaid.
you're arguing about the advisability of the mandate, which the people like Harry is an individual rights question why she'd have to buy it, and for people on our side is where's society healthcare? Everybody's insurance goes up if the people who are at the point in their life where they pay less aren't into, and that most industrial countries do that in the same way we have car insurance. But I was thinking of there was a local
Joe.
angle.
This isn't the Harry and Joe show.
No, it's not the
This
Harry
isn't
and
the
Joe
Harry
show,
and Joe show, but
however-
we
Because
can
they're
have
going
a
to be
show,
Harry
Joe.
and Joe show.
We can have
You
a
already
show, me and
named
you.
it.
No, but however,
Guys,
first of all,
arguing.
the real reason, let's face the real reason why these guys are against Obamacare, if we want to call it, it's the Affordable Health Care Act. The main reason is because the top 2% of this country, which my family fall under, but I still say the top 2% of this country.
It's a new name for 'em. Sorry.
Oh God! Oh
Sorry,
God!
threw you off.
The top 2% of the nation is paying into this healthcare plan, and they should not. It's how they look at it. They feel like they should not have to pay for people who have all this ailment. There's going to be a $348 billion tax fall from the wealthy.
You're now talking about the budget.
The budget
We're talking about
from healthcare. There's going to be that is going to kick back. It's a tax fall. It's a tax break.
So there's also an impact here in Connecticut. I was talking about this with my wife last night. So we always feel we're protected in Connecticut, right?
But we're not.
Because one thing they're doing is they're going to roll back the increase in Medicaid,
Mhm.
which is health insurance for poor people that came under and working class people that came under Obamacare. This is going to give permission to states that want to not expand Medicare, not have to, or not have to do it in the rules that were given by Obamacare. So my wife and I are saying, well, we always feel safe in blue states, right? Well, we'll just continue to do it here. And then my wife pointed out that the Senate now, state Senate is even divided between Democrats and Republicans. And in 2 years, we have a governor's election that, less than 2 years, that I think could very well go Republican. We could be looking in Connecticut at another state that will vote to get rid of, let's say, guarantees for pre-existing conditions, which is going to change the life of tens of thousands of
It will
people.
change my life because
Right.
I'm on Medicaid.
I don't think
I
it's
am
gonna,
the working poor,
Right.
and I have pre-existing conditions.
Right.
I mean, it's not just Medicaid people.
And then-
Everyone with pre-existing
And
conditions.
before the ACA came,
Mhm.
I was paying out of pocket for all of my health insurance.
Just imagine.
Paying out of pocket for
That
all the
is so hard.
medications. It is unbelievably hard, and
Yeah.
and work and negotiating with each doctor for each thing
Right.
and
And then have to settle for whichever doctor is going to give you the best deal. You're shopping your
But you know what
healthcare
bugs
like
me
you're
about
buying
Democrats and all
potatoes.
this?
and it's exhausting to do that.
It is exhausting.
What
I
bugged me
mean,
is the Democrats in Congress yesterday, when the Republicans passed it, they said, Shana, na, na,
absolutely.
hey, hey.
I thought they were talking about Obamacare.
Goodbye.
Now, they're so sure that because the Republicans passed this,
Mhm.
people whose now health insurance is going to be cut
Mhm.
will retaliate against them and kick them out. What I can't believe is they're so cocky. They were so cocky 2 years ago and a year and a half
They
ago.
were
Wait a second.
cocky
Do you
6
remember-
months
Do you
ago.
remember how cocky they were
Yeah,
that Donald
yeah,
Trump could
yeah.
They
never
were
get
cocky
elected?
6 months
Up
ago.
until 2 minutes before the polls closed,
Correct.
last election day,
Right.
Democrats and all the media, the liberal media,
Yep.
was so sure
Yep.
it was a fact that
Exactly.
Donald Trump could never become president. They were gloating.
Mhm.
They're so sure that they could make this argument about people's self-interest, which maybe people just define it differently. For instance, like, it's not Obamacare that's unpopular. It's the real program is popular, especially in red states. People like the Affordable Care Act and the help they get. It's just the Republican spin machine funded by the Koch brothers and others has somehow convinced people that that black guy's health care program is stealing from you, that's giving you that help. So they hate Obamacare, but they love the Affordable Care Act. I don't know why the Democrats are so convinced that when they go back for
Well,
the
They should
election.
always behave like underdogs.
Really.
Because
But then,
they after this election, they shouldn't think that they're going to win
Well,
either.
let me ask Norma. Do you think the Democrats should be happy that the Republicans voted to get rid of Obamacare with the belief that there's going to be this uprising at the polls against them because people will be so upset they lost their health care? Like, guys, can you give me the mic?
I think
I was gonna
basically
give her
what's
the mic.
happening here is that Obamacare, it has the name of Obamacare. And Trump being the person that he is, he wants something to be called Trump care. I think that that has the major push on this. He wants to take the name of Obama out of this
I don't
and
know.
put his name to
Well,
it.
you know
I
why I
don't
asked
know,
you this
because-
question, Norma? Do you remember how during the election,
Mhm.
white liberals were so sure they had this in the bag
Mhm.
because they say, of course, blacks and Latinos are going to hate Donald Trump. He's against them. Look what he's saying about Latinos, rapists, and thugs. It turned out he did quite well with the Latino vote. He didn't win a majority.
14%.
I think it was more than 14.
But that's because of the
Latino, wasn't it?
I-4 corridor.
No,
as
like,
you
you know,
know.
it's like-
You know what? Let me tell you
The
something.
black
So
vote was
Norma, are
supposed to-
the
Democrats
Democrats
are in
wrong
serious
again?
trouble with the Latino community. You know, they seem to think that Latinos
And
are
they
very
should be.
liberal,
Right.
and they're not. They're not liberal at all.
Well, and so, yeah.
And you know what? It's been the Republicans who have been wooing the Latinos, not the Democrats.
Well, Paul, you remember last year, what did I say? I said if they did not pick one of the Castro brothers, she is not guaranteed to win this thing. I was very clear about that. I don't see why they did not pick the
So
Castro
there's a
brothers.
new book about
No.
where Hillary Clinton lost. Where's they forgot the chapter? She doesn't Joe Ugly.
That's it. And that's the main chapter.
But if she listened to Pundit Friday on WNHH Radio, broadcast on 103.5 FM, live stream at NewHavenIndependent.org, she would have listened to Joe Ugly. She would have won the election.
Look,
From day one, she thought she had to win. From the
exactly.
day that she announced that she was running for president of the United States, she acted as if she was president already.
And her supporting cast did the exact same. You had the guys of Robbie Mook. First of all, once you're over 3, you need to stop with the Robbie. The Robbie Mook, your name is Robert. No, not Rob. I'll settle for it. But Robbie Mook, if you ever see this guy in an interview, you realize why she lost. He's so dismissive of explaining things. He literally said, I believe it was on Meet the Press, he literally said something like, oh, well, they'll get that. I look at it and I, no, they wouldn't. Explain it to the American people. Don't have this attitude.
So you
that
see, you watch MSNBC and you must be arguing with your TV all the time because they're the most cockiest people, and they were sure. I remember I was watching Rachel. I won't say Mad Cow.
what you did. Well, go ahead.
Oh, come on.
I remember-
That's nasty. That's just nasty.
I remember. I'm not a nasty woman, Paul. Cut it out. No, I remember her being so cocky up till 9 p.m.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Listen,
You know, But wait,
always
I want to go back. a
Wait, we
step.
need to commemorate this moment. I think Harry and Joe could just agree about
No, well, I totally agree with him. I
Wait,
was
now,
screaming these guys better
I
not get
just
something.
want to, go back to Norma's thing. It wasn't about he wants Trump care or anything like that. The
Of
Republicans
course
have
he
been saying for 8 years that they're going to get rid of this thing.
Yeah.
Now, Paul, it wasn't because he was a black guy, but I will say
Yes,
this.
it was.
No, it wasn't. Look, let me tell you
Legacy.
something. Let me just hold on. Now
here.
here it is. Because my niece, I'm gonna give you an example, just one example.
Okay.
My niece who voted for Obama
Uh-huh.
because of Obamacare, and because most people out there thought it was gonna be single payer, right? Because they were so naive, because the message was so convoluted. Now she voted for Obamacare. Obamacare passed. Her job cut her to 29 hours, so they don't have to cover her health care.
But that was happening
and now Obamacare
anyway. That was already happening.
It wasn't happening.
But wait a second. Harry just said
It
something.
wasn't happening.
Harry just said
happening in the
something. She
workforce.
thought it was going to be single payer, like most industrialized countries in the world.
Right.
In fact, there was a moment during the Obamacare debate where Obama and the Democrats did want to have a form of single payer called Medicare for All.
Right.
And it was Joe Lieberman, along with Republican senators, who killed that.
Killed
So,
it.
Harry, for the record, Mr. Trump supporter, would you support a single payer health system?
Oh, I got to hear this.
No.
Oh,
But-
okay.
No,
No,
but
wait.
the president does.
Wait.
The
Listen,
president
I know,
does.
because
He
he said
said it last
Australia
night.
had a
Absolutely.
Mr. President Trump
Yes.
always puts his foot in his mouth. It doesn't
Puts
mean
his foot
anything.
in his mouth. Oh,
But,
now all
but
of a sudden it means nothing.
now I'm just saying, her job cut her to 29 hours.
Uh-huh.
Okay, then she couldn't afford
Right.
her insurance.
I
Then she had to go get. Now she had to choose between paying for college because she's been putting herself through school.
I understand, Harry. I'm not.
Okay,
saying
and that was under Obamacare, and
wait a
none of
second.
you complained about that.
Because Obamacare, what they wanted, they kept the greedy insurance companies getting their take and have it be private insurance where these rules were put in, and we kept it with private employers giving the insurance so they could go to 29 hours. What about single payer? She'd be fine. If we had single payer, she could afford to do everything you just said. College, health care, not even sweat about it.
Harry, that's called reform.
That would never
That's called
happen.
reform. But you
That would
guys don't
never
even want
happen
to talk about
because
reform.
look, she has pulmonary issues.
Yep.
Hold on,
Okay.
and she can't afford to get on a long line on the single payer plan where they would never
It
get
wasn't
to.
going to be a long line. Whoa.
Let me tell you, the Canadians go through that all the time. Now, hold on.
Wait a second. Canadians overwhelmingly said they wouldn't trade their system for anything.
Yet they come over here, they get their health care.
They do what?
What did you say, Markeisha?
And they've been consistent about that. Like when we've been going through this debate, I don't know a Canadian who, like, I watch a lot of like financial planning videos,
Right.
and a lot of them are from Canadians. And when they talk about not only their like teacher retirement systems and like, I'm sorry, I'd like to move to Canada right now. I'll take me some of that.
Now, what if you were fasting for 8 days? Would you get a doctor and a single payer? Because Marquise had a story today in The Independent that one of the 8 fasters at Yale who are protesting Yale's refusal to negotiate a new contract with their new union for graduate student teachers has stopped fasting because of an unspecified medical problem, and someone has taken her place. And from the beginning, the fasters have said, we're not going to die over this. They're getting very weak. But they said, we're not going to kill anybody over this. As soon as someone's medically in trouble, I don't know why they're so confident they could always catch it in time. Medically trouble, we're going to swap out. So they
No,
did.
but you got to keep testing people's.
So in any case, critics say this isn't a real fast. It doesn't count. They say you don't get to tell us what counts and not counts. We're doing what we want. What I thought was interesting this week was President Salve weighed in. This is the second week. It's become a national story. Yale University President Peter Salve said, look, 2 things are different here. At Harvard and Columbia, where they have a graduate student union, they had a majority of the graduate students vote for it. But at Yale, the NLRB allowed just 9% of the graduate students to vote, so that only 228 out of 2,600 PhD students got to vote. So only part of them are. So we believe we have a right to go to the NLRB and argue why we shouldn't have to start negotiating because we think the election was messed up. The union says you've already been there once. They said, no, you're stalling for a Trump appointee. But in either case, Salve said, this is not the way to settle an argument. If you don't agree with something we're doing about what decision the NLRB should make, you shouldn't threaten to do harm to yourself as a way to win your argument. You shouldn't say that if you don't do what we want, we're going to go fast and get sick and face death or possible potential death because you don't agree with us about an administrative procedure and an argument back and forth with two reasonable positions. The right way to do that is go through the proper channels of the NLRB. He says threats of self-harm have no place in a rational debate when an established dispute resolution process still exists. Respect for law and legal process, civil argument, persuasion, these are the hallmarks of airing and resolving disagreements at a university. The union, Local 33 of the Unite Here, says that you're not playing fair. We already went through a process for years. We won an election. You might not like how it took place, but we won. You're now stalling and spending a lot of money with lawyers to try to get out of it while this right-wing new anti-labor president who you supposedly don't support on your other values lets you cheat. Who's right?
But first of all, to tell someone how to protest is totally crazy to me. To tell someone that.
Well, what about how to resolve a problem? Like, for instance, if someone works for Joe Ugly,
Yeah.
and you say you're not allowed to come in here with a gun and shoot people, but they said we think you're really wrong, and unless you give me my job back, I'm going to kill myself. Is that the right way to resolve that dispute, or should you go to the state labor board?
If this person chooses that way to protest, that's their right to protest. I mean, at the end of the day, you have your right to protest.
I'm not talking about rights. Is that a good idea how to do it? Should you therefore say, I'll change my mind of the marriage, you can come here and shoot people when you come work for me, because otherwise you're going to hurt yourself if I don't do what you want?
No, but orange and apples. What we're looking at here is the individual, if working for me, decide that they're going to come in and shoot them, shoot up the place. Obviously, they're looking to commit a crime.
You're right. That's ours. What if they came in and said, Joe, I'm going to scream whenever you're on the air because I don't like the way you're running the show.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take the mic and not let you talk.
Right.
You say, you can't work. I don't like those rules for working. I'm not going to negotiate about this. They say, unless you negotiate that rule with me, I'm going to go sit on the green with a sign, Joe Ugly stinks, and I'm not going to eat for 5 years. Or, I'll slowly die. Should you therefore let someone come in and run your organization the way you don't like because they did that? Or should you take it to a state labor board that can adjudicate it?
No, if the person chooses to protest, that's my point.
I feel like none of those are good examples.
No, I'm on the level. If the person chooses to protest, I mean, if they choose to go on the green and sit out there, go out there and have a seat. Do whatever you want to do.
So you think? What about you, Marquise, or Babs, or Norma, or Harry? Do you think President Salve has a point that this is
with Joe on the you can't tell people how to protest, right? Like they're never gonna, particularly if you're against what they want,
right?
You're never gonna agree with their protest.
Exactly.
They can just say we're gonna go around and sing nursery rhymes
right,
every day in your
just
office,
like the unions disagree.
So you can't get any work done unless you have us arrested. But we're just gonna keep doing that every day.
But just like you're right, because the union also is criticizing the way that Yale goes about it, which is rather than negotiate, continuing to delay filing more and more appeals at the NLRB.
And could they come to the table and then just say, okay, we've negotiated, we're at an impasse? Like, could they just come to the table?
What do you call those?
If they don't want them
Norma,
out there
what were you saying?
themselves.
Can you take the mic?
What is the name of the arbitrator?
Arbitrator? Yeah.
I really believe it's time for an arbitrator to come in to try to see how both groups, because obviously they're at a standstill. Both groups are doing drama, lots of drama, that to the point that it could be detrimental, and it's making New Haven look bad. Not only Yale, but it's making the city of New Haven look bad. And I think they need to call in arbitrators to come in to an agreement.
So Yale would say Yale says we're doing that. We're going through an appeals process at the National Labor Relations Board that will review whether we're right that you shouldn't have had an election that has only 9% of the graduate students voting. The graduate students say you're actually distracting from, you've already lost in the part of the election, you've lost when NLRB first took this up, you're just looking for ways of delaying giving us our rights. So Yale feels they're going to arbitration. The union feels that they're not. So I guess that's part of the impasse.
But something, Paul, when you look at it, it's just as if somebody is looking for an appeal process. I mean, you don't have the right to say how the appeal process is going to work. I mean, you sit and wait for what's going on with the appeal process. So that, if that's what they're waiting on for Yale to come through, if Yale said they're going to go to, they're waiting for
NLRB in Washington.
Right, to say what it is. I mean, but that's part of the appeal process, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so then you sit and wait on the appeal process. Not like you go all of a sudden and say, hey.
So you're okay with it? So no need for a hunger strike?
I really don't see the need for it, but that's just
is
my
there a
personal
question of
opinion.
is the strike too soon? Because if they do go through this appeals process and, Trump appoints somebody who's going to rule against them, then I guess what leverage do they have?
Right, exactly. You
So
don't
now
bring
I'm
your
back with Joe that they have a right to pick their tactics too. If they think
do.
Trump's going to beat
But
them,
they
they
do.
bring
I'm not
But
positive
saying-
I'm
pressure.
thinking
I'm not
more about the
opposing.
effectiveness.
Right.
I don't have a problem with them having a
right.
hunger strike. I
Is-
just
It
I
just
want to
ran
know
on
when's
it.
the right time
Right.
to do it.
Is this a unique situation, or have other prestigious universities gone through this whole process?
They
And how-
have, Norma.
have.
And
So,
how have they? And how have they dealt with
Salovey
it?
said the difference was at Harvard and Columbia, not to mention the public universities, when they had an election, all the graduate students voted.
Mhm.
But they allowed them to do at Yale because the union does not have the support of the majority of graduate students. They let the union pick 9 out of 50 departments to have the election in, so that you have a separate little union for the 6 that voted for them, rather than 2 that we're not sure and 1 that didn't. So Yale's saying to be a true election, it really should be all the graduate students, and that would be like our other institutions. The union's saying we made a legal case that those departments are different from each other, so they each need their own union, and the NLRB supported us in that. Obama appointees supported them. So that's what they're arguing about. So it's a very good question you asked, and one side argues it is like the other institutions, so they should negotiate. The other side argues it's very different from those other institutions, so there's a legitimate legal issue here. The tactics are interesting. I give the local authority a lot of credit for sneaking when Yale wasn't looking and getting that great shed put up where it's become a great communal public space here, like Occupy New Haven across from the president's office at Ivy Plaza. They actually did a decoy. They had 2 demonstrations to keep the police and Yale officials somewhere else while they snuck in with this long planned wonderful shed and put it up, which I think that's a great spirit protest. What do you think Yale's going to do now? Because they didn't take it down right away. Now they got national media where these, famished protesters are sitting underneath the shed, even in medium warm weather.
I'm giving it 1 more week. I'm giving it 1 more week.
Graduation's coming.
You got it, baby. Graduation's coming. It's
But they'll
just
look
like
bad if they take it down. They'll look like they're not for free speech.
they were supposed to look bad the last time when we was occupying New Haven. 1 more week, baby.
What do you think, Markeisha Babs? What would you do if you were Peter
I
Salovey?
would just leave it up.
You look good then.
I don't know if it's about looking good. I think it's the right thing to do. I mean, if a liberal university cannot sort of rise to the occasion to be better, then there's no hope for us anywhere. So
Look, I think that,
let's do it.
as we were discussing in our
And
community,
send some water out there.
there you go. As we were
Seriously.
communicating in our community spotlight earlier,
He
it
just
said,
said blankets is cold outside.
Or send some blankets. And
That's
some
true. They claim they're worried about the protesters and sending a doctor to make sure they're okay. They're saying, we don't need your doctor. We got our own medical people. You're not really, if you're really concerned, you negotiate. They say, well, that's not the right way to do it. But you're right. What if they sent them water?
Send them water.
be careful. Remember the last time.
By the way,
blankets
that's
was
what
spread.
Kingman Brewster would do. Kingman Brewster, President Yale, during the protests, the big protests, and where they were going to burn down Yale, and he opened his doors to the protesters, fed them breakfast, and said, I listened to what they say, and I agree with their argument that a black revolutionary can't get a fair trial in America. He earned the ire of the president of the United States, but he prevented New Haven from burning down in its core. And I think he modeled a way that an enlightened university allows all point of views to be heard, even if it challenges the university, without feeling a need to quash it. I think Babs is right on the money. If Yale believed what it said, if it hasn't become just like any other Fortune 500 corporation that's all just about generating new money and their image, which I think they have. But if they haven't,
Well, maybe this is their moment
they
to
would
sort of reevaluate that.
They would celebrate that this protest structure is outside the president's office, having people coming to study, perform music, debate ideas. You have Republicans coming to argue against them by barbecuing meat, so they try to get the smell to discourage them. But what did you think when you went there, Markeisha? What did you think of their 33 Wall Street
Did you say
Examiner?
barbecue and meat?
Yes.
Yeah, they did right next to him.
Barbecue.
Right, the young
To
Republican
kill
college
the smell?
Republicans. Yeah,
No, to break the fasters.
to try to weaken their resolve. Then they sent 200 pizzas. They had 200 pizzas
Oh,
ordered from
man.
Yorkside to the. But what they did, the protesters said, well, we're not going to have the pizzas, but there's a free food giveaway for the hungry on the green. They sent all 200 pizzas to the green.
Oh, this is getting interesting.
Yeah,
It is getting very
It's
interesting.
been clever.
This protest is like
This is intellectual.
Yeah.
Very intellectual.
That's
Clever.
your
Clever protest.
chest move process.
Yeah.
Protest over here.
Yeah.
It's like, come on,
I would
take
just
it.
I would cater a buffet right in front of them.
You would, Harry. You certainly would.
And you
You're
know,
like
just
Joffrey.
you have to think about them, right? You're worried about
Joffrey
them.
over there.
They should eat.
King Joffrey, thank you.
I'm not gonna lie. If they did that and I was protesting, I'd cross and say, "Hold on, fellas, I'll be right back."
Truth is, after you haven't eaten for 8
You
or
can
9 days,
resist
if you try to
anything
eat too
but
much, you get
temptation,
sick.
right?
Yeah,
True. That's why I'll be right back.
But what about the water? So, and this is getting interesting. Melissa Etheridge, a Grammy winner, was in town for a
Yes, she went
concert.
and brought some water.
She went to brought them bottles of water to help the fasters.
Mhm.
And this is what some of our commenters said. I'm really glad Etheridge brought the pampered Yaleys Fiji water, among the most expensive water on the planet, versus the bottled tap water at a fraction of the price in New Haven. Fiji water is bottled inland in the South Pacific, shipped to LA and trucked across the country. Think about the carbon footprint.
Hey,
And then his lookout said, drinking bottled water trucked from across the globe. They are not roughing it. You know, we've talked about this on the show. I don't understand why anyone in New Haven, where the water's terrific, we have really great public water. Why is anyone drinking bottled water, and why would
Even
you?
though,
Don't
like,
you
I know,
start.
like, that
Don't you
was
start.
reference to Fiji water, but the actual, the fasters, they have, I think, their own reusable water bottles. They're not,
I know he's
but, like,
on
that's
another.
mentioned in Chris's article, the Nagaline
Paul's
bottles.
on another point here.
So,
You know,
but-
also
drinking
leads
his-
chemicals.
Shout out to New Haven tap water. It's pretty tasty.
Well, you know, that's why we live in America, because we can choose to drink bottled, fancy bottled water.
Thank you.
Or not.
But don't we care about the environment? Don't we care about not destroying the
If we
environment?
cared about the environment, then we wouldn't build so many buildings, because building of buildings is the biggest
you.
threat to the environment.
you make
And we
choices.
give up our cars
You make a choice every day, whether it's
He's not.
cars, whether you're going to do something, and sometimes you do it
and
for
ride
something
the
that's
vision
better.
trail.
But why would you do something that gets you water that's not as good and costs you more
Whoa,
money
whoa,
to
don't say
destroy
it's not
the
as
environment
good.
when you could support public resources
Paul,
like
that's
drinking
it.
water?
Paul, how much bottled water do you consume?
Not
Zero.
a lot because
0. So therefore, you can't say
Tap water.
I've tasted it.
All of it, all of it.
And it doesn't have the
Half a sip.
minerals that the regular water
Well, you could give
has.
Norma the mic.
No, the truth is that bottled water doesn't have the minerals
and your dentist
that
wants you to have
regular
that
water
fluoride
has.
Or the
in your-
fluoride.
And the
The
process,
fluoride
and the
is
process of
awesome.
transporting
Even though
it
there are
and
people
throwing
that
out
go
the,
to fluoride.
the
After a
plastic
certain age, you
bottles.
don't need fluoride, but
There you go.
that's
But you do need
That's
Pundit
just
Friday
the
if you really know what's going on. Here
Think
on
of the children.
WNHH,
Think of the children.
your
guys.
home for community radio on the
Those
3.5
children, Daddy
FM.
needs work.
We're here with the Pundits, great Pundits of the universe. One thing is the protest. I was talking today to someone that you
Doesn't
folks
matter, they
know
won't
very
have
well.
health insurance.
I was talking to some of you
Fall
guys the other day about someone you guys know really well who was involved in the anti-apartheid protests at Yale in the 80s when they built a shanty in the same spot.
Mhm.
And a protest shanty that Yale didn't know what to do about when they tried to get them to divest from South Africa when it had apartheid government. And an enraged Yale alum who hates the left came and burned down their
Oh.
shanty
Oh,
the other
my.
night and got arrested. And they said that one thing the protesters learned this time was they have someone
Don't put
sleeping.
wood.
No, they have
No,
to.
there's wood. There's wood.
But they had no one sleeping in it overnight during the
Because people are
anti-apartheid.
crazy.
So now they have people sleep. The protesters are there all day with their supporters, and they sleep in the church. And other people take turns sleeping overnight, so that if Yale wants to come middle night and take them down, they're going to fight it. So they feel like they have learned something over time about how to protest outside Yale.
Like,
I know you
you
said.
know how warm it is right now? That's how warm it is. That's high.
Okay, I got another dilemma. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Just 1 second. Somebody mentioned about getting blankets over there. Remember the last time blankets were offered up in this country, okay? Let's be very careful about what you
the
accept.
indigenous among us
Thank
Oh.
you.
don't
Let's-
appreciate the whole blanket giving.
Exactly.
What
Let's not just,
happened? No, I don't remember what happened.
Smallpox.
Blankets.
White
Oh.
folks gave indigenous people
The Indians.
smallpox blankets
And wiped
and
them
killed
out.
them.
yeah,
Okay,
wipe
no blankets.
out
Don't sit
the,
any blankets.
be careful with the blankets. It carries a lot.
Well,
Should they
what,
bring buckets of water?
what about shortcuts?
Shortcuts.
Markeisha Ricks wrote an article in the
Is there a
Independent this week.
vision about shortcuts?
So when we had the Special Olympics in '95, and they said it was going to bring all these benefits to New Haven, which ended up being garbage. They had the World Games here, but what they did in conjunction with it was this was at the beginning of the time, which is now it's popular in New Haven. But people back then were just beginning to talk about how do we make this a bigger city to bike around and walk, and how do we reclaim the landscape from big highways that were built up. So this little cut through that's under the highway overpass by the train station that takes you from Water Street to Long Wharf. They created something called the Vision Trail that would be a walking path through New Haven and biking that included a little cut through that got you along the railroad tracks right by Water Street near State, and it gets you right near where a key is in Brewery Street. This cool kind of shortcut. and it was a paved trail put in there, and we've had it for 22 years. The State Department of Transportation has been expanding its rail yard operations. So it said,
Yeah.
okay, we're going to get rid of
Not
this
looking
now
good.
because it's in the way the property goes through where we go. We're going to get rid of it. So of course, all the new urbanists got mad in New Haven because this is one more example of how the DOT, Department of Transportation, is sort of always against us on how we want to develop our city for transportation, right? How we design a garage, how we take care of neglected lots. So there was a hearing Marquisha went to where the people were mad at them, but the response has been so interesting. Because some people, particularly in the independents, said, well, the DOT just would rather have people leapfrogging rather than have New Haveners gain access to their own waterfront. And but some other people said who were for this whole biking thing. One guy, Jonathan Hopkins, said, well, the fact that they're just made a two-way separated cycle track at Sergeant Drive, and they're doing other road improvements right around there to create the Farmington Trail Canal maybe we don't need that cut through anymore. And as somebody
Where is
else
this cut
pointed
through?
out,
Oh, I was about to say, what I think is interesting about that is it was a walkway that was made during the Special Olympics. So now we're just thinking about people who bike. We're not thinking about people who walk. Or
no, I've
get
used
around
it to walk.
ways.
I've used it to walk.
No, but
Where is
what I'm
this?
saying
I
to you
can't
is
remember.
we're talking about cycle tracks as a replacement for the
Oh,
trail.
I see.
It's illegal to walk in the cycle track. You're
Oh,
not
so you're
supposed to
saying
do
the
that.
Vision Trail is important. It is true.
Yeah, it's
when I
important
walk
for
to
people who just walk.
Longworth, it's much more direct, and I'm not around fast cars. If I do that cut through it, it's kind of cool. You walk under the highway through the backs of these rail yards, and then you're quickly on Brewery Street, and you feel like, hey, this isn't just a city for cars anymore. But as another commenter pointed out,
I don't know where
I
this
can't
is.
remember where it is.
And yeah, lots of people don't.
you're
know
on
what
State
it is.
Street going to the train
Yeah.
station, right? And you're at that light right past the Knights of Columbus. If you go left instead
Water
onto Water Street, right to your right,
Under the underpass.
if you walk
Oh,
under
I
there.
know. I've seen people.
Wait a
I've seen
minute.
people.
If you by Knights of Columbus Museum,
Take
Yeah.
a left,
Go
go,
right
past
go over
it.
the bridge,
go over
and
the
then
bridge.
off to the right. That's where the trail is.
Oh, correct. You're absolutely.
But
wow,
the fact
was
that you
so
guys
many
don't
years
know
ago.
shows that this hasn't been a
Yeah.
big
It
deal.
had-
It's been sort of inside secret, but it's
That's
Grove
because it
Street
is not well
pointed out.
signed, Paul.
Yeah, you're right. And this Grove Street
Or
pointed
well
out.
taken care of.
So not
That
long
too.
ago, I decided to walk back on the trail. Wrote one commenter, but it was not identified, and the area looked horrible. Whoever founded the trail has done nothing to make it look worthwhile. It also likely stays right about 10th of a mile or less. This is not a big deal except to a few hobbyists in the protest everything crowd. I think that's overstated. It is a good walk through. I think pedestrians count. But he's right, that thing hasn't been kept up. It's
No.
not some nice trail.
So what was also mentioned is that the trail has, like, where it is now, it actually wasn't. It was in that area, but it wasn't exactly where it is now. So as the rail yard has expanded, the trail has moved.
Zigzag.
The original idea apparently was for it to be flexible, but as and
That's
this is
right.
where
It used
things
to
have
go in the
fallen
back
down.
of the train post office.
This is where the
Yeah.
folks who founded it, where it did fall down, which is as new areas were supposed to be identified, as more attractive routes were to be identified, then the trail could move. But because that really hasn't happened, or maybe because there were no other like interesting routes identified.
Yeah.
But what I think about this particular trail, like this is the one trail that I know of that takes folks off the street as opposed to putting them in the street, because we've been very focused about putting specifically people who ride bikes in the street. But I really do want places to ride or walk that are off the street.
You're so on the money because because you and I walk, and anytime we walk around that Water Street area, it's treacherous.
It is.
It
You
is.
have to
There's
kind
no
of
sidewalk
decide
over
where
there.
you're going to cross the
Right.
street because there aren't sidewalks in certain
Right.
places. And so, like, I actually typically don't use the Vision Trail because I was kind of creeped out by the idea of walking on it by myself. I definitely don't do it at night because
Yeah, you
it
don't
looks
go there
really
at night.
dark
Oh,
back
you don't go
there.
at night. Yeah.
So, I stay on Waters, which is the proposed path from the DOT. The DOT basically said, well, what we're going to do is move the trail out to the street. And so what you would have, and the idea behind
That's
the trail
what the
is
Farmington
to keep
Canal
people from
Trail,
crossing the street so often. Like, the more times you have to cross the street, the more dangerous it is for you
Correct.
as a pedestrian.
But how are they planning on connecting the Farmington Canal Trail to that? Because
The way they're doing
it's-
that, Joe,
Yes.
is they're going on Olive Street, and they haven't decided yet
which also
whether
is considered quite dangerous.
it's very narrow. They're trying to make that. They're finding out a couple different ways you can make it bike and pedestrian friendly on Olive. Then they're going to have it go jag along the real street on Water Street, then go under the street. That's the underpass at Brewery, and that is the way to complete the Farmington Canal Trail, which they are about to do, and by making it with some bike lanes, maybe separated, maybe not. As Marquisha says, that's treacherous for walking. It's not even ideal for biking. It's a tough
It's
public
tough.
policy. But so what about another tough question is,
Mm.
what about this protest this week, the May Day protest about immigrant rights? It marched from the Green on May Day past, do you ever go here, Norma, Fashion Nails right next door to us
Yes.
on Elm Street? What kind of place is that?
That's down here?
Yeah, right next door to us. I've gone
I
there.
remember when they first started.
But didn't they get in trouble for
They
not
did.
paying
We're
their
gonna get to that.
workers?
We're gonna get to that. But what kind of place is it? You, Markeisha and Norma have been there. Norma, can you speak in the
I've
mic?
been there
Not the
too.
mic.
Oh, you have. What do you think of it?
I don't go there anymore because they're not paying the workers there.
Gotcha.
I remember when they first opened up.
Right.
It, well, they were basically almost 2 years without any business. That's how bad business was when they first opened that store down there. Now, obviously, it's doing well. But you know, if they're not paying
Well,
their workers.
Even if they are paying their workers now, the fact that the owner was like, I'm not hiring Spanish people anymore, I can't go there.
Let's tell people about that. So the reason I went, the
That was
reason
mad offensive.
that's what
What?
Christopher Peake's article in
Right.
the Independent
Why?
reported. So what happened was this march is going past places they think symbolize injustice. So they go there with the bullhorn and the car horns. They say this place doesn't pay its workers. What happened was that in 2015, the state cited them for illegally underpaying workers. And what they said was, the guy claimed, I'd been in other states. In those states, you're allowed to count tips toward your salary. I didn't realize you're not allowed to here. I'll pay them back. Since then, they've said he has not broken the rules. So he's saying, I follow the rules now, and he says, I stopped hiring Spanish. This is a quote. That's why I don't hire no more Spanish because they come sue us like groups protesting outside me.
Damn.
All this
Who is
complaining
this
and
guy?
stuff, I don't want to deal with it. And it's safer for me too, so I don't hire illegals, you know. He says other nail salons hire Hispanic workers. If you go any nail salon, believe me, most of them have Spanish workers there, and why are they still working there? They must be getting paid enough, right?
I've never seen that.
And when I was frequenting that place, they did have Hispanic Latino workers. Yeah, they did. And I mean, they also had whatever Asian descent those folks who working there as well are there. So there were both. I don't know what it's been since then. So this is probably
And how are the
a couple
nails?
years ago. I always was happy with my service, but at the same time, like this alludes to two different things that I feel like are interesting things that need to be explored. So remember that the New York Times did the big expose about nail salons and how people are being busted in, particularly
Asian.
undocumented Asian workers, particularly women, who are made to work at these places all day long and with little breaks, not being paid adequately. So so that's already a problem. So if he's talking about I'm not specifically hiring Latino workers because I know they're going to sue me if I don't pay them correctly, then that's one problem. The other problem, that I said one, that means there could be others. and this also is an opportunity for the folks in the immigrant community, particularly our Latino community, to broaden their support. There are workers out there who are not Latino who are being exploited. So if you want this movement to grow, you got to bring in other people who are, because it's seen as just like a Latino movement. There are Caribbean workers out there,
Right.
documented and undocumented, who are afraid because they
And-
know that they have to have their stuff sewed together.
Mhm.
I was talking to a friend of ours who, she's saying the Caribbean community is concerned. People from
Right.
Jamaica, people from Trinidad, people from other places who are
Right.
also have these concerns about being able to get back and forth in between the countries. And this is an opportunity to say, hey, we got your back. It's not just about us. We don't just care about our own. We care about everybody who has a stake in this issue.
That's a good point.
And the reason why you see the West Indian community is not saying much is because it's not on the front line for West Indian community, because it's not
And they
trying
also
to
don't
build
want to like put themselves out there.
Exactly.
They don't want to put themselves in the spotlight.
Yeah, now man, Trini, listen now. If all little stand up right now, what all they go stand up for?
Well, thanks for standing up for Pundit Friday on NHH Radio, your home for community radio. Thanks to the best pundits in the media universe, Harry Droz, Babs Ivy, Markeisha Wicks, Norma Rodriguez-Reyes, and that guy who has so many names, we just call him Joe Ugly when we're signing out here. Thank you,
you, sir.
everybody, for joining us today in Dayline, New Haven. We're going to take it out with the Afro-Semitic Experience, performing I Wish I Knew How It Would Feel to Be Free, from the group CD, A Plea for Peace. Now, we know what it's like to be free. We just got to remember to book our flight. Book your flight with us all weekend long here at WNHH, your home for community radio.
Yes. We didn't
All
thank
right.
we didn't thank Paul
Awesome.
Oh.
and Harry for the